Already? Sure. Sounds like you muted and you muted in the channels and things. Can you hear it, sir? Good, good, good. Mr. Flores is here as well. Council, all members are here. We're gonna be ready. Can you hear me? I guess if you would just start with a kind of the audit process. We have, Councilman Yan, which is a question, sir.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? You say that we have the auditing standards. Um, it's evident that the last 2 years, the audits were not submitted on time on March 31st. Can you sort of explain to me what happened there?
The accountant, I was providing the training to the accountant. There was a lot of training going on. So that we get a little behind that we did. Now this last audit, the one for the fiscal year ended September 30, 25, was out in March. So we're back on track.
I mean, to our defense, 23, 24, it was not, that was, we got that pretty late. That's to answer her question. And it was several, just because I want you to know that the administration called on several occasions to get that going. So it
We're
wasn't,
going.
yeah, to make sure that we get our 23, 24. 25 did better because that was presented to us pretty quickly, for 25. But 23, 24 wasn't.
The transaction,
Yeah.
the financial, they took over after.
But regardless of that, that was already being addressed because I know that when Tres was here, he was already working on it, and we had to call him several times before we actually got our audit for 23, 24, which was really late. So you were right in that question.
Sir, you don't set up a time frame to start the audit, like maybe plan it for November and meet with the city staff to figure out what we need to do. You just wait for us to call you when we're ready? I'm not sure. Can you explain?
on these audits, and I'm not sure who I need to address this question to. When y'all are doing your monthly bills, do you do over and under for reports and stuff? You, do you do over and under reports to see where you're at as far as monthly billings and stuff? So when you submit those out for the monthly deal, or they
This is the main report, I believe, the one you have there.
just one, yeah.
So on the third page is a summary, but summary by totals. But the report itself is right after that, and that one will give us over and unders by line item.
Line item, okay.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be on,
It's included in the report.
that's gonna be on our monthly reports and which is in your packet. This is actually talking about the audit.
Yeah, but it's easy,
Yeah.
once you submit the audit,
Once it-
if you have all the over and unders for the whole year,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to keep up with it that way.
But Mr. Wright, I want you to speak freely. I mean, let us enlighten us here. Please.
Years that comments were that the auditors are very busy. They haven't had a chance to get it completed yet. And then it times, at least twice to the auditor. I asked staff mentioned to me multiple times that they had everything they needed already. And we weren't getting it together. So that's where I was left, and that was my impression.
So you were contacting the auditors to come in.
I called this gentleman here twice.
Well, I'm sorry, but I've worked with audits before and the auditors would come and set a deadline, start November for us to get it done, start working on it. We start submitting all the information, finance, HR, everything. So. No,
If the audit is not the audit, or we're not ready for it, what are the other things?
so then it's, okay, then we need to fix that. That needs to be fixed.
See, over and unders, why are you not ready for it?
Oh, there's a lot involved right now.
Well, I
That's what I think.
I understand, there's a lot more involved, but if you're doing it on a monthly basis, then why are we falling behind? I don't understand that aspect of it.
Well, the plan this year is to get them everything by December. No later than December.
Has nothing to do with audit.
Sir, I'm sorry, but I would like for David to answer the questions and speak to us. I understand you're the attorney, but he and Ms. Luna are the ones that need to speak unless we have something to do with.
I do have something to say.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I would like to hear it from them.
I'm just saying, I think there's a misunderstanding of the purposes of the two documents. Your financials are going to give you your day-to-day picture. The audit is done for compliance purposes because the law says you have to have one. And the main purpose that we do the audit for is because when we apply for grants, we apply for loans, when we apply for any of the things that are typical financial tools, they're not going to accept any of that stuff until you have it up. And what I heard from the auditor, I'm sorry to understand, but it's not going to tell you if money's missing. It's not going to tell you if money's being misappropriated. It is a sample audit. As he said, random was the word that he used. I know this, I've been doing this for 32 years. If you're thinking that the audit is going to point out financial irregularities within the city, it might, but that's not the purpose.
When you say random, it's just, pick, it's a random audit. So it's not like a forensic audit or a detailed audit that,
It's a what?
a forensic audit or
No, the other one.
very detailed audit.
No, the one before. These audits are supposed to be due. They have to be done by March 31st. So I'm just gonna ask, just for
Well,
for you and to figure something out because,
without that much education.
huh?
The 25, the state legislature made that law last year, I believe. What was that?
Mr. Wright.
And going back to the monthly reports, so at the October meeting, you will be getting a September 2026 report. That report is nowhere near final. A lot happens during the month of October. We actually have an October 31 deadline. Sometimes we move that deadline to November 15th, whereby all accounts payable checks that pertain to September are still thrown back to the previous year. So we can't even finalize our books until the end of October or November 15th. That is the earliest that we can actually finalize our books. So there's still a lot that happens after you receive the September intake.
Same situation with both. Jorge, David and I met last week to discuss not necessarily this, but when we were putting the agenda together, there are things that your financial guy or your finance guy can do. They can do stress tests. They can show liquidity. All of those things are not what an audit's going to do. Audit is just checking a box. Is it here? Is it there? I've seen audits where they recommend separation of duties, of course, but they really are a legal compliance issue and really have nothing to do with the financial management of the city. That's completely separate and apart. Now, they touch on it, they'll talk about it, but that's not a guidance document on how to plan your day-to-day finances. And I know there probably is more detail that can be given in the financial reports. Again, stress test, liquidity, what happens if we don't collect sales tax this month, those kinds of things. I think those are the things that you probably would be more interested in. Where are your expenses, your overs and unders, as you refer to them, your projected, your actual, and your budget? And it is quite complex. I mean, I read through the reports. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't, and the council should be on top of this because there is a liquidity issue. There is. I can tell you that. The city is heavily reliant on sales tax. It's heavily it's heavily reliant on property taxes, which is any governmental entity. If the city's ad valorem taxation, it gets no mineral property taxes. If it does, they're minimal. The ad valorem is, I don't even know what it is. What is the budgeted ad valorem for the year? What does the city collect in ad valorem taxes in a year?
Yeah, somewhere in that, here.
Which is not insignificant, but that's about 25% of your budget. And so there are issues. You're right. There are. And I think Mr. Wright has pointed those out in what he's done with the sanitation department by automating it. We're going to, through attrition, reduce payroll. Payroll's an issue. It is an issue. It's an issue everywhere. That's your highest input cost typically is what you pay your employees. Because you don't consider capital expenditures to be short-term costs. Those are amortized out over a number of years. But I don't know what other suggestions, what other ways they can be made more available.
And the mother that the charter was brought up, and that would be a source of income going after the companies that are a little bit out of the out of the area. Where are we on that? It just kind of got buried and never brought back up. So I want to know where we're at on that charter.
Okay, it was never brought back to council because I didn't see that anybody wanted to come back to council. The charter, one of the big motivations of it was all the industry that is around Petula currently, that is in the county, that is using city facilities, and they're not paying tax on it or not paying anything. When you have a charter and the city reaches their boundary, you can either annex them because industrial can still be annexed on demand. Residential cannot. They gotta ask to come into the city. Or you could go to the company and say, hey, we're right here next to you and we're looking to annex you. Is there anything you want to do in lieu of tax so that we don't do that? And then we get streets done and we get water infrastructure and we get a lot of things done. But being that we are a type A general law city without a charter, we have no legs to do anything outside of our city limits. And that's what was very important.
There are several companies that have gas plants around the area and are within that range. I think the range is what, 6 miles or 5 miles?
PJ, 1 mile.
One-
You were at
Well, there's several companies that are within the range and we're sitting there and doing nothing.
Example, and Councilman Yanez works for the city of Pearsall. I believe they have a pilot agreement with the South Texas Electrical Co-op, so they didn't annex them. They're getting tax. I think they getting tax payments from them. Those are the things.
There's several companies that are within that range, I think, here in town.
touching the property, obviously they're able to get
The Judge Rodriguez loop,
the bypass.
that needs to be annexed. It does. You
No,
know,
this is not a charter per se workshop, but falling on an annexation. I know that's gone by the wayside a long time. Doesn't mean that we can't. It just has to be a voluntary. But there's a lot of damage and stuff because you brought it up on sections that are deteriorated because of the cause of the city and Thomas Street, Velasquez Street back there. A lot of that when our pumps go out and everything else, we damage that. But uh, we get where we're going. My question is, let's get back to the budget. Did you have any more questions on the budget and stuff? Other than why we were late?
Just one question. Have you started the new budget for the next year?
No, we're getting ready to meet with Mr. Flores soon.
Talk about.
We're already got information for it. We haven't started the actual process, but we're very.
Thank you.
have the tax rates yet, because
No.
the Grayson District has certified the role.
We don't get the final certification till late in the month, July 25th, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around that day that they're required to certify that role. So the city doesn't know what the taxable values are gonna be until that time. So, I mean, they don't vary that much, so there is other work that can be done. But the actual budget, in fact, I've talked to the mayor before we started. The beginning of August, it should be, the proposed budget is filed on August, early August.
Well, yeah, let's meet up soon so we can start working on that.
So I was just gonna mention on the monthly reports, the importance of submitting monthly reports and council actually reviewing monthly reports is that one of the questions I never wanna hear is, what do you mean we're $1 million in the hole?
Or what? Sorry.
I never wanna hear, why are we $1 million in the hole? If we're not submitting reports and all of a sudden we're $1 million in the hole, well, that's on us. Now, we're giving you all reports. If we're ever $1 million in the hole, it would be a gradual thing. So if nothing is a surprise, everything is reported on a monthly basis.
Again, I think that some management tools within the reports, if they can be included, would be helpful. So that they can get a quick snapshot of where the city is overall, rather than looking at each line on the report. And you could break them out by fund type. Of course, the general fund's the big one.
We do a report by line item and then summarize it into one page. But the detail, I mean, the individual line items are there. If council wants to see further detail, just ask for it and we'll provide whatever report you all want.
Anything else on this workshop budget? If we have nothing else, I'm sorry? You're good? Yeah. If the all else, I think that's it. Anybody else have anything? If not, we're gonna go ahead.
When you're doing the audit and you're saying it's a random, what, it's just picking this one or that one or how,
It takes about 150 checks selected that we provide the supporting documentation for, whether it's accounts payable or payroll, for them to satisfy that things are running smoothly.
They go and double check, or they're doing the random check?
They
Oh.
select the check numbers. We identify what that check was and provide the supporting documentation.
Good. We're good. All right. This workshop is adjourned.
Thank you.
Time is 6:39. I'm gonna give you a few minutes. Audience, again, if you were wanting to speak, please sign up for the line item or general comments. And while we take this little short minute break, anybody need a quick break? Good. Eleven 2026. This meeting will commence at, the time is going to be 6:43. 6:43. I call the meeting to order. City Secretary, please call roll. Here. Here. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. So we do have citizens to be heard, but it looks like we have them all for item number 12. So is there anyone, any alibis or anybody else that wanted to do general comments? If we have no general comments from the public, we'll move on to item number 5. And this is going to be the approval of minutes for May 28th, the regular meeting. Did we have any amendments or anything that need to be addressed on the minutes? Thank you. We have a first by Mr. Garcia, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor of approving the minutes for May 28th of 2026, regular meeting, say aye. All opposed? Motion approved. Item number 6, and this is discuss and consider an act on adopting ordinance number 260611-001, an ordinance of the city of Cotulla, Texas, amending code and ordinance chapter 54, utilities, article number 3, adding division, and then number 6, water conservation section 54-317 plan, declaring a public purpose, providing a repealing, incorporating recitals providing and servability, and declaring an effective date.
Got from our engineer, it's a requirement of the grants or the loans that the city's applying for.
$500,000 technical development work was approved. And we are currently closing on it. This is a requirement that they had in order to close on this grant event.
And it's a drought contingency plan, which I think actually came from the Winter Garden District. This was given to me. The ordinance is just something I put together.
What's already in chapter 54. The only question I have regarding that, and it is encouraging retrofitting the old plumbing fixtures. Chances are probably a lot of them are cast iron fixtures. Does it give us monies or anything to make for those adjustments?
Particularly this one is really, no, it will specifically to this, it will not. But it does give us monies to do work within the city, but not on private property.
The Water Development Board wants to see that cities are at least planning to try to do something. Whether they can actually do anything always depends on money.
This is basically just an amendment to it, adding to it. Any other questions or discussions on item number 6? Do I have a motion to approve? All in favor of approving the amendments on ordinance number 26-0611-001 as it's written, say aye. Aye. All approved, all in favor, all opposed? Good, motion passes. Thank you. I think the judge made me nervous because he runs a tighter meeting than I do or something, right? It's like, all right, here we go. Moving on to number 7. This is discuss, consider, and act on adopting resolution number 26-0611-001R. This is discussing consideration and act on resolution for the support for the 4% low income housing tax credit, tax exempt bond application, and a commitment letter from the city of Petula for the Whitetail Ridge Affordable Housing and Development and declaring a public purpose, providing for servability and declaring an effective date. Did we already get an update to the 2 new council members about what that's about?
Mayor, council, thank you from Paul, I'll give a presentation on Whitetail Ridge. Peggy,
Mr.
can
Wright.
you kind of start at the beginning so that the new council members understand what we were working on?
Yes, definitely. And thank you, Mayor, for introducing me. My name's Peggy Brimhall. I'm a consultant for the city of Cotulla. I focus on housing. It's my specialization. With the city of Cotulla, we have been pursuing an affordable housing community, and the pursuit is to build one for the community uh, and have and take advantage of the LIHTC program. Let me talk a little bit about what that is. It's a federal program that subsidizes, funds the construction of housing so that the mortgage, the permanent debt that you ultimately get. So like the mortgage on that housing could be a lot less since it's subsidized by the federal government. And therefore you can provide lower rents and still maintain the property, keep it at a high quality of level, and also provide services to the community that lives there. Because usually those who need lower rents have disadvantages, whether it is opportunity to employment or childcare or training or special services because they are veterans. This program provides not only a high quality place to live that will be maintained for 15 years minimum and usually at least 30 years, but also the ability to have access to benefits like job opportunities and childcare. So there are 2 programs in this LIHTC division, and these programs get administered by the state. So the funds come to the state in the form of tax credits, and the state then allocates the tax credits on a population basis. And there's a lot of other credentials, like, how many jobs do you have in this area? What are the general incomes? Do you have a place where you can provide top groceries? Do you have a school nearby? Is the land that you want to build this on close to both of those? Do you have a park? Is it walkable? That kind of things, to make sure that this future community is one where the people who live there can thrive and be happy. So we've come far, very far, to the point where we have put together a program which includes 60 homes for working families. We had to choose between elderly families and things like that. So the work that we've done since November of last year, we landed on 60 homes for families across the street from the elementary school, within walking distance from the grocery school. And they will be targeting, for example, families that work in hospitality, in the restaurant service people, those that work in retail, perhaps. Also, young teachers will probably qualify, entry-level teachers. Entry-level city service workers might, but maybe not, because the city is a very, very stable job to have here. Yes.
We have a TDCJ facility in town too. The majority of the workforce is from Laredo, Texas. Would they be a part of that? these people commute every day. They would love to have housing here. It's not available to them now.
So that is probably the main reason why I was invited to submit a proposal to help the city with this project, because the city is aware, the mayor and the city administrator have been aware of, well, obviously everyone here knows that there's all this commuting, and it would be great if the city would be able to provide a place to live where those service workers have available housing, because there is a deficit. One thing that I have learned since being a consultant here is that the ISD has major issues retaining teachers. Their average retainers is 2 years because there are no homes to offer, and so they have to live in a mobile home. And at that point, the teacher goes elsewhere. So here are homes where we can invite people who commute to come and stay. And then the city of Cotulla becomes bigger. There's more spending here because now the families live here, just work here, play here, and that helps the economy. And it's interesting that you said that, because I am, in addition to the resolutions I'm requesting today, I would also like to present the idea of creating a summer series for the concept of housing here in Cotulla. I would organize it. I would interact with maybe the Main Streets executive director, and hopefully pair on to some events that she might be doing, and bring in discussions like perhaps the first event would be a movie or videos of affordable housing, what it is, and how the experience would be. The second one might be an economics panel where we understand what the financial benefit of creating a community like this has year after year as a ripple effect on the economy. The third one would be an invitation with the developer, maybe like a fireside chat or something like that. And then the fourth one, which I think which would be great, would be to invite the builder to come and talk about his Section 3 program. The Section 3 program is one where they actively train up people who live here to be able to help construct the project. And therefore, and we calculated it, the 126 jobs that this would bring for the construction period could be focused on teams that live and work here. So he can come in and talk about that. And then I think and then we could have others. Yes.
Ma'am, this is just the phase one, and I'm mentioning it so they can understand this is just the phase one. The phase two is gonna be 30 affordable housing, right? 30 to 50?
50 or 60. Yeah.
50 or 60?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
yes.
so this phase one is 60 homes that are subsidized by the federal government so that we can provide lower rents. The leveraging that we are doing here is we have this $17 million program. $17 million project that we can attract a top-notch builder to come and administrate and general contract. But then, like the councilman said, he is willing to stay and work with the landowner who is adjacent and build a small community, and by small, 30 to 50 homes, community that is market rate. And so I understand that there are incoming jobs and that there are already people who work in oil and land in general area who may not qualify, who earn more. So they would be the prime target for the market rate homes that would be built a little staggered, one after the other, but the two phases would come together in the span of 3 years because the builder would want to finish the project. Yes.
Recently, I did a little checking. The city of Cotulla has approximately 63 properties that they've gotten through foreclosure, scattered out throughout the city. your setup that you're asking for, is it all gonna be concentrated in one area? Or can it be scattered out to all these vacant properties that we have that, why, I have no idea, but, we have them. But, and then on top of that,
Okay.
if that is done, does these properties go back on our tax roll in order for us to get monies off of them, or is it subsidized by the federal government?
The market rate properties, which is phase two, will go back on the tax roll. I have not seen an inventory of the vacant lots, but I would welcome that. While I am not or my scope is not the market rate project. What I'm doing right now is setting it up so that I can then hand it off to the market rate developer. But as soon as we start making the affordable portion something we have confidence in, we will bring the market rate developer to the meetings and start that transition process. And that market rate developer would have the interest in these properties that are around the city, and he would negotiate with the contractor to see if it would be possible to build in them. But I cannot say for sure since I haven't seen the inventory, but that could be something that would be considered.
Series that we were talking about, the whitetail tail is off of Las Palmas over there, near the Candlewood area, right? And
Yes.
and touching the elementary school. That's where she's talking about the first 60 units, and then the developer would go across the street from there and develop there. The other thing that you're talking about is something, yeah, different.
Complex, or is it gonna be like duplexes, or?
Yes, for subsidized for hospitality workers and young teachers. The other part would be the phase two would be market rate for families who work in oil and land and make good livings. Yes.
I,
Yeah, well, that was the initial intent, but we could look at the inventory of vacant lots. Right now, that's the intent because that's who we have at the table.
I believe this project, and I'm talking to the rest of the council members. I believe that this project, it would help out a lot moving forward in this town, and it would attract other kinds of business, HEB, Walmart, urgent care, April, because businesses look on the population, the fire rating, your water, your housing, everything, that's this project, it would really move our town forward. And
Good process, but I'm just curious if all these vacant properties that the city has, if not getting any money back into our tax roll, they can be utilized in order to build some of these homes on.
the
Referencing, they are off the beaten path, and they probably could be looked at to be sold. And be more than certain that a lot of the properties that you're seeing though are gonna be attached to current infrastructure for expansion. But I do agree, there is gonna be something there that we could probably let go of. I can just think it in my head, I know there's a few.
I was looking at, all addresses. Of course, I've got photos of all the properties. There are several that.
So the other thing we need to address is, so before we get off the beaten track here, is that's part of the budget that he and I are gonna put together with Mr. Flores. Because we have to have the budget to be able to move some of those things around. And that kinda, you stole my thunder. Kinda, I was already working towards that budget and talking to Mr. Wright and trying to get those on our next fiscal year so that we can maybe subcontract. Because we know that going with bigger companies, you're talking about holly dollar. And I think this is something that we could probably do on a local basis, but not getting back on, let's get back on track with the Whitetail Ridge.
I'm gonna just have to say something quick. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna be a little bit off track. Okay. I believe also in selling those properties because I know a lot of people have been wanting for properties around here. We could sell them all, and with that money, we can purchase a good land so we can also provide for the housing, and You know, we give them something, we give them land, tax break, and they'll come in.
I think that's
In here, coming back to number 7, and I agree with you. It is where we stand financially, and can we do this? And that's comes back to that.
so right now we had to pivot from the 9% program to the 4% program. Because the competition in the 9% was just rough, and we didn't come out on top. So
9%, 4%, because it's very confusing when you say
yes.
9%.
Okay, so 9% it refers to an algorithm that I admit I understand maybe 50% of. It's very complicated. It's financial, and it's tied to tax credits and the economy and the market. But basically, what happens in the end is that the 9% tax credit program converts into an award that would pay for 70% of the total project in the form of tax credits. Now, that's huge. The caveat is that in exchange, you must provide housing to very low income people. So now the idea is disabled people or the elderly or people with mental health challenges. And that was something that we were considering, because it also applies to single mothers who work, but they are their income is very low compared to the amount of people who live under their roof. Uh, so we went for that one, thinking that the market rate would even things out. Phase 2 would even things out. But because it pays for 70% of the entire project, it's very competitive. And so everyone was going after it. And I admit, I did research for the past 3 to 5 years, and no one was really competing in this region until this year. And the year that we submitted, Hidalgo County submitted 4 projects, and they had more jobs available, so they beat us in terms of points. Okay, so now we're pivoting to the 4%. What does that mean? So just like 4 is kind of half of 9, more or less, this one converts so that tax credits pay for 35% of the program, 30 to 35% of the project, not 70. So it's less, which means that the mortgage has to be higher, right? And because we have to pay more per month to pay the mortgage, the rents have to be higher. So what that means is that they allow for the people who live there to make more money than in the other program. So now we're talking about young teachers, other hospitality people that are more stable. In the other one, it was like lower income hospitality people. So these are higher income hospitality people. Uh, Dual income families sometimes. And so that's the 9%. The 4%. So the problem, however, is that in order to satisfy the requirements for the 4%, you have to build bigger projects. And it's just like the federal algorithm that you have to go bigger. So in the 9%, we were thinking, okay, we'll do 48 units. In the 4%, the least we can do is 60. And the reason why we went with the least amount of units was because we want to provide more market rate later for phase 2, right? We want to keep this one a little contained and provide. But not only that, it also allows for the gap to be smaller. And that takes me to why I'm here today. And I'm sorry, I'm long-winded. So the city of Cotulla has already issued a resolution of support for the 9% program. But because we need to pivot, I am now asking for the resolution of support for the 4%. Basically, it's the same letter with a different name on the program. Yes.
Pivoting to the 4% program, the approximate gap is around $5 to $6 million. How are we going to fill that gap?
Well, we need to continue to raise funds. We could consider city programs like TERS funding, which is one that underwrites infrastructure in a way where we don't have to pay for that upfront with the capital costs. We can defer it in a way, and that way the amount to pay immediately goes down. We can also cover that in an agreement 360, which is similar to a TERS, but it's more open, and the city can be a little more creative with that. Uh, there are other funds that we could consider, which one that has been mentioned is the Economic Development Corporation. There's also another organization called the Middle Rio Grande City Development Corporation, and they have suggested that there is a $750,000 grant somewhere, and we continue to try to move that forward, although it has been slow. We also approached the county of LaSalle and asked them to partner with us. And they have partnered with us on the condition that we go through all of these grant opportunities and pursue them to the fullest extent. And there's even one more that, this was the final part of the summer series, where we would approach companies in the county and ask for some sort of philanthropic support to also help fill that gap. So that would be one of our events. We could ask them to fulfill a few, and then through all that, hopefully everyone in the city and the county can come together, and we can fill the $5 million gap. Yes.
So the day comes, we're ready to bid out the project, contractor's ready to do the project. And we fell short on what we needed as far as obligation of funds. Now what happens?
Well,
Getting at, I'm just cut to it, the city doesn't have $5 million to put the project.
right.
So we gotta have some kind of secure or guarantee, knowing that if the money's not there, legally, what's gonna happen?
Well, legally, the project gets put on hold, and we have to withdraw our acceptance of the tax credits that come from the federal government, which is about $7 million worth, and say we can't accept it this year. Hopefully, we can try again next year. Now,
In approving the resolution, where does that take us? And at what point do we revisit to know where exactly the cost is coming on our city and how we move forward?
good question. So this is one step in the process. This says that the city is in support of us pursuing the 4% program. So right now we are working on an application. The developer is funding all of those costs right now. And the application is due June 16th. That application goes into a bond issuer who will issue bonds for the project. Their meeting is in mid-July, where they vote yes or no on us, and then they issue a letter of reservation, which means we will receive these tax credits if we accept this letter, and we have 180 days to claim it. And there are lots of things you need to do in order to be able to claim it. But so the reservation letter tells us we have 6 months to close, which means that in February of next year, we will need to have that money, that gap money ready.
There's one other part that we're missing, which is Debbie Whitecher with loans. So the new council members are not aware of
Yes.
the investor.
Yes, I realize that Debbie's been here before, but she needs to come again. And fortunately, she's committed to the city of Cotulla. Our application expert, who's working right now to make that June 16th deadline, was born and raised in Cotulla. So maybe she'll come also. And as a team, we want to see this community exist. So while we want to make it happen this year, we are committed to postponing it another year. But I will say that the more you postpone it, the further and further away the reality gets, right?
You're just asking for the letter of support. But we won't know how much money the city needs until you get more investigation in this part of it, or what?
No, yes, we know that it's a total of approximately 5 million, and that amount grows and shrinks also depending on the price of these tax credits that we can get.
Looking at
It,
giving you 5 million right off the bat to get started. Is that what you're asking?
um, not in those words. Yes. It's a total of $5 million of an award that can be capitalized to this project. Like for example, the Agreement 360, we can defer the cost of infrastructure in a way where we don't have to pay it on the first year, and therefore it reduces the amount. But
If you're gonna break it down, can you give us a ballpark figure how much the city's gonna give you?
a ballpark, it is $5 million, but it's not necessarily cash. And there is also an ability to underwrite it as debt. Like it can be underwritten in lots of different ways. Does that answer?
The other- No, I think more, because the other issue too, we haven't brought up is that you have a bank that's willing to give the city a grant, I believe of $1.7 million.
Yeah, 1.2.
So if
The
we,
federal bank has
Okay, well-
already awarded 1.2 towards this project.
The letter itself and approving the letter, it it still doesn't mean that we're gonna get the 4% or we're gonna be approved. It's just telling us that we want to go as far as we can to see if it's
Yeah,
possible,
you are
right?
committed to doing
You're
it.
committed to.
That's why it's called a commitment letter.
And I think if I'm going to point out, Judge, I'm going to put you on the spot. I think that's why the judge is here today, because I know it's been brought up to the county itself. And let's tell the truth. Our county has some funding. So they want to see our commitment before they also commit.
That's
And,
right.
Commitment of it, I just wanna know how much money it's gonna cost the city of Catula, because, we don't know exactly where we stand there.
so with like it or not, it's HUD. We're applying to HUD. HUD is the one that's going to be yes or no or whichever way. And yeah, and so when they tell us what our portion is, that's what she's going to start doing is trying to get how we get this funding.
Yeah.
Again, she's already told you that we have a bank that has committed 1.2. You said that Middle Rio Grande could possibly have 750. That's 225,000 right there. So if we're by that, I mean, 225 million, that would put less on us. It just depends on what we actually apply for and get qualified for.
Yeah, the commitment means that you are serious about moving this forward, and you will, in the approximate range of $5 million, which is what we can say, a little more, a little less. You will work with the other entities who are partnered on this, which is the county, to figure out what those breakdowns are. But the federal government doesn't need to know that the city's giving this and the county's giving this. They just want to know that the public entities locally are committed to together putting forth the 5 million.
Question.
On the contribution, that can be things like water and sewer infrastructure, that could be roads, that could be
Right.
other
Yes.
things that we may already have in the budget.
Yes. Yes. Ma'am.
David, do you think we can do this, the money wise? I mean, are we able to sustain that if we do go forward with it? Because we can't guarantee the county is going to be with us either. I mean, why are they waiting for us when they should also be committing as well?
I would say no. But But if, and the judge does want to speak, it seems, but if we can get commitments from the others and the grant, see, the 5 million is the cap, but you already got 1.2. You may get 750 from the COG. The judge may give possibly what he gives, and then we're left for maybe $4 million, 500,000. I'm not sure. So, but that's what we need to define. Go ahead, Judge. I'm sorry.
I think so. We have to get
I'm just wanting us to get together. That's all. It's not nothing. I just want to know that if we're going to get together on this because it benefits our people.
One thing I also had mentioned, and this is not my decision, of course, but part of this could be EDC. You know, infrastructure and going into the property could come from EDC. And there's an EDC project.
That is a good question. The Cotulla Housing Authority is a different entity apart from the city of Cotulla. They are currently restructuring. And so they're making plans for improvements on their existing housing. Maybe they want to add some new. I'm not privy to that, but we understand that they're restructuring. And so this is a project that can come sooner than that so that we can address the deficit in housing now while the housing authority is working on it. Now, that said, there is a financial tool called a project-based voucher that housing authorities are awarded specifically from the federal government. And the executive director of the housing authority and Deborah Welchel, who is the developer of this project, have met twice already, and one time talked at length about perhaps joining together and having the housing authority award this project 10 of those project-based vouchers, which would help the incomes. So while we're not a direct partner with them, we are in conversation and we're trying to create an ecosystem where both benefit.
because you do have a commissioner from Housing Authority here as well. So Housing Authority is in a revamp. They do have what is called the Section 8 granting, which could possibly get you 10 renters, right? They also, she's looking at home ownership programs, which has never happened in Cotulla.
Yes.
And never happened in Cotulla. So we're trying to get home ownership where people are buying homes at their salary. So the government pays for part and they're only have to pay their 30%. It's kind of what they're doing now. So those are things that we're trying to vamp up and keep moving forward.
And
We
that
want
is
to do things that we've never done in Cotulla before. And this is possibly that one chance that we get this going.
that's right, Mayor. And those programs that you just mentioned are very innovative and they're very challenging. So all we're trying to do is work under the mantra of more is better. And so the more homes we can provide this town and have commuters come and stay here and spend their money here, people who live in low quality housing move into high quality housing, just make it better for everyone all around. So more is better for the city. Yes, buy, rent, market rate, just options.
Proving, and when we put the letter, and I'll let you speak, Mr. Olelo. In moving forward, and when I ask you the question, it is not that we're totally committed and we got to pay $5 million. All right. It is saying that we have an intent and we would want to see if we can get there.
right?
Yes, you're committed to
Doing whatever we can to
To
get
deliver
there.
it.
We can always say, hey, we can't do it,
right,
right?
right.
Hold on a second. Mr. Alvarado asked to speak one more time.
I'm all for this, but from this stage to when somebody can walk into that home and say, this is where I'm gonna live at, what's the time frame on something like that?
So February is the big closing date. That is the same date as day one of construction. So that's when you put the shovel in the ground, and the reason you can do it is because all the money activates. You already have permits, and the developer is paying for all of that up front. They're paying it, and then they expect to be reimbursed later when the money activates. The construction will be 12 months, but we're doing 3 different buildings. So the minute that the first building is ready, you would start moving in. We believe that we can start moving people in somewhere in the 6 to 8 month range, which would make it less than about a year, or a little more than a year from right now.
With daycare, right?
Wait,
I know.
So
I just wanted to know.
Yes, it can be. It's not super specific on daycare right now. There's a big long list of services. And so once this starts becoming more real, we can bring in like a third party daycare person that will be subject to observation from the property manager. I will say that childcare will be focused to the residents. It won't necessarily be open to the public just because it's their home, and they want privacy and security. Thank you.
you're good? Mayor? I am good. I'm gonna recommend that we when I ask you the question is that we move forward with it. Let's get as far as we can get. Let's see what we can do for our residents who deserve it. And then at some point, if we have to do a stop or a slowdown or whatever, then we get there. But if we never take that chance, we got to remember to trust in God and not in men. So a lot of prayers, okay? So we have to, okay? So I believe I had the first motion, and we have the second. So all in favor of adopting resolution number 26-06-11-001R to have a resolution of support of the 4% low income housing tax credit, say aye. All opposed? Let's move forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Judge Martinez. Have a good night.
All right. Good. Let's move on to, go ahead and move on to number 8. This is to discuss and consider a proposal from Jen's Nursery and Greenhouse for landscaping plants to be used at Veterans Park at approximately, you've got 2 invoices. One is for trees and plants, and the other one is, I think subsequently the same stuff.
Yeah.
For 20,000, 684, and the other one's 10,406 for trees and shrubs and stuff. Discussion, David.
So we talked about Veterans Park and we talked about Front Street here in the past, which is within our historic district in the community. And the park itself was not being maintenance. Wasn't being maintenance. It looked terrible. So we talked about doing something as far as a maintenance project to replace grass. I like to say addition of trees, but it wouldn't be an addition of trees because in the past the park had a lot of trees. And of course, just to spruce it up and make it look nicer. A lot of the historic things that are in the park obviously are not being touched, or not being moved. You have some benches that have been changed. They have new concrete slabs on top of them and tables, and they're tilted. They're sideways. So they're leveling it out, and they're making it presentable, and they're making the park look beautiful, how it should. And the second part would be on Front Street on the opposite side here. Years ago there was petitions there, and the concrete was busted up, destroyed. Council approved to have the concrete fixed and replaced, which we did. But also with that, there used to be a line of trees that ran all the way down, and it is no longer there. And we would like to replace that and put it back how it once was. This predominantly has been an in-house project. We did not have architect. We didn't spend all that extra money to do this. You know, we did it in-house to make it cheaper, and we have a master plan in City Hall. We see what it was, and we're doing it off of that. Also, Mr. Rolando is here from Jen's Nursery, and he'd like to talk. The other thing too, before, if you want to say anything, Rolando, is if you see the invoices there, you see the amount of trees and plants and things like that, and if the council is not happy with that, all that can be changed. If you think it's too expensive, it can be changed, and it can be, we can tone it down. I will say within historic district, hot tax is relevant, and it can be used. Well, that's what I was gonna ask you. So this would be a maintenance project for a historic park.
And then the other question that we had that came to me was if it's a historical park, what portion of it was historical? Because they see the new structure of Mr. Cotula, right? That wasn't part of that historical
Correct.
marker.
And they added irrigation, and they added the sidewalk, and I cannot give you a direct answer, but I do know it's probably.
The pillars. So basically, when we had that question and we have the documentation on the Plaza Florita, like the kiosk, you cannot touch the kiosk because that's what made it historical. This is kind of the same thing with the pillars at Veterans Park, which made it historic. It doesn't mean that you cannot change the structure of it. You just can't change those historical portions of it.
But you know, things like that, you can.
But I have some questions. And I don't care how it gets answered. I want to clear this up in my mind. You said we had irrigation. Do you know how much we spent on irrigation?
Years ago, more than 10 years ago,
So that's been a while back.
has been repaired since stuff.
Did they do any electrical upgrading out there?
Maybe. I don't know what's up.
If Rolly and Jen have done any electrical?
No,
We haven't-
no.
No, just projects.
Just in
Yeah.
general for the Veterans Park.
Plaza Florita, yes.
No, for the I'm going.
Over 10 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe? Okay.
Well, I'm just going by some of the stuff that I've read through this procurement laws, and you know, it says one of the questions I had in there was the laws followed contractually historically underutilized businesses as stated in number 69 under the text of the procurement laws from 3,000 to 50,000. You know, there is and that one is a city must contact at least 2 historically underutilized businesses if the city makes an expenditure between 3,000 and 50,000. If the expenditure is for less than 3,000 or for more than 50,000, special notification will not be applied. I'm just curious. Did you go through the procedures that's in the Texas municipal procurement laws? And then I have another one that is, you know, I understand these bids for this does not include the soil or the labor, and then you have 2 they're dated the same date, but they both have $800 for delivery. Was it $800 for each one, or is it $800 combined?
They were duplicates. So there's supposed to only be 2 quotes. Yeah, I see there's 4.
One has a $800 deposit. I think one of them was for Front Street and the other one. Both. Okay. Okay.
I'm good with it because I've reached out to some of the contractors I use for landscaping on my projects. The prices are about ballpark figure. You know, granted for this coming this far south to Petula and everything. Like I said, I'm good with that. I'm just wanting to know if we followed proper procedure by law in order to get to where we're at with making this.
Over 50,000.
And you know what? I can answer that, David. Just answer that. Yes, we checked on two people. We actually asked for an irrigation person and Mr. Jen's nursery. Those are the two. They're the local one. I can give you the name afterwards. I'm not gonna call them out here, but we did ask two different people about restructuring that trainer. We did that. So he did ask that. And we do fall under that category for Jen's Nursery, because they had not been utilized before and they have been here for years now. And so we're under that. We're good. We're covered there. Right. Go ahead.
What, you could, how come the labor wasn't in here? You could have put it all together, no?
Well, right now, they're working on an hourly rate.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
a separate thing. Like the project is not all one project. There's separate aspects of the project.
Because I thought you were
separate
worried
phases.
about it going over the 50. It would have been, because you could have used it as sole source. You know what I mean? They're local.
Reason, Councilwoman, they did that, and audience, was because we didn't know what we were gonna dig up there. We didn't know what they were gonna dig up there. We really didn't.
I understand that, we don't have invoices for everything, but a city may not avoid the application of competitive bidding by proposal for personally dividing a single purchase into smaller components that each component purchase is less than 50,000. So in totality, is this gonna make it over 50,000? So we didn't do the proper.
No, that would be like you're gonna buy a truck and you make a bid for 50 and another bid for 50. No, this was not planned that way. It was not deliberate. It's just the way that it happened. So I would say, and I'm checking on the amount. I think it's 100,000.
I think I read
I'll-
50 a
I'll
couple of
tell you.
times already. Questions? Anything for Jan and Rolly?
Are you doing the grass too, or just the plants?
That he's been working on the sprinkler system as well, and I've passed through there. I mean, it's working. Yeah. And also I seen that landscaping all the way around that is taking that what you call it, the aluminum stuff. Yes, the edging, and it's looking good. It's yes.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
It was changed 100,000 September 1st of last year. September 1, 2025. 252.021A.
13 edition.
Question?
Don't only the sprinkler systems, or are they on timers, or somebody has to go in there and activate them, or?
So the other thing with that, and I'm gonna go up on a limb, what I know from Rolly and Jen, and you can confirm this or not, everything's gonna be guaranteed for a year.
I thought that's it.
Any other questions? Are we good with the legalities? All right, here we go. Here's the proposal. Do I have a motion to approve Jen's nursery and landscaping plant for the amounts of 20,648 and 10,406?
I think the first motion.
You have a second motion over here? All in favor of approving the landscaping cost for Veterans Park on number 8, say aye. All opposed? Approved. Thank y'all so much. Moving on to number 9, let's just discuss, consider, and act on possible waiver of demolition fee of 48. I think that's supposed to be 4,800, right, David? Not. Okay. That's what we were, that's a question I had too. 2,800, okay. Not 48.
Had a conversation with Miss Dora. Apparently that she doesn't want all of it torn down. She just wants a portion of it torn down. Do we have the capability of, because once you tear that back wall off, somebody's gonna have to go in there and fix that.
Well, if I remember correctly, that first building, and I'm just putting my 2 cents in, that first building is not attached to the back. It's separated. It looks like it is. It's one wall and then another wall next to it, but they're not attached. It is one, all one? So you're gonna be left with a hole? Can you come up? Uh-huh. I'm sorry, I can't hear. Uh-huh. The portion that you had as a hotel, motel rooms or whatever it was, that's what you're talking about. Okay. Do we know where those are? And then we did price that property.
Yeah, he's here actually. If you have any questions for him, he went out to the property, and Joey also went out to the property.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I hadn't been in the building, but when you go into the front building, can you walk all the way through the back, or you have to go out and go around to that separate building altogether? So there is a wall there that stops from the front building. Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
Typically file a lien on these properties if they don't. We typically file a lien on the property for the cost. If you want to waive it, you can, but that's usually what they do.
It's been a while. We have been talking about this for a couple of years, and we've been. I know I had talked to Dora's daughters a couple of times and things like that. So, it's a safety hazard. So at some point we need to help them out too. So as for a lien or not, you can add that we put a lien or not put a lien. I'm not going to recommend a lien at this time. I think they're pretty consistent with the way they pay their bills and everything else. So I think we're good. Ma'am, yes.
Together there, my friends get together, and then I have like 10 grandchildren that I plan out there. I'm afraid. Thank you. Thank you. They're stairs.
Your kids. You're. I have a motion. Do I have a second? What's the motion? What are we doing?
And it's 2,800.
2,800.
Okay.
That is the fee. So here's the question, and I know I've got one. possible waiver of demolition fee. The fee is $2,800. This is for 408 Golf Street. Okay, I have a first motion from Mr. Ayala, and then we got a second. All in favor of approving and waiving the demolition fee for $2,800, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to number 10, this is the possible waiver of demolition fee for the county-owned building, Old Pizza Inn located at 406 North Main Street. What is that about?
So, our code enforcement officer, this actually, let me start at the beginning here. This building, for years, we've had multiple complaints, rodent complaints, just all, like a bunch of different complaints. It's right on Main Street, it's very visible. Joey, our code enforcement officer, came in the office and he said to me, he said, "Hey, the Pizza Inn, the county owns it now." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Well, let me call the judge." So I called the judge and I said, "Hey, you own this building now?" And he said, "Well, yes, sir, we do. We got a project we're planning to do there." And I said, "Well, Judge, I got a lot of complaints in the building. Why don't you let the city demolish it?" And he agreed. He said, "Well, tell me how much it's gonna cost." And my comment to the judge was that the county has done so much to help the city. Why don't we take it to council and see if the council will waive the fee to demolish the building? And then, we get it out of here and it looks a lot better. So,
Familiar with the building, but is the siding asbestos siding or is it just normal siding? Concrete? Yeah,
Cinder block back in the day, covered up. So I have a first and I have a second. This is to, the waiving the demolition fee for the county-owned building, Old Pizza Inn located on 406 North Main. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? No, no more chuck wagon. It's not historical, Vicky. All right, let's move on to number 11. This is discuss and consider and accepting donations of marquee sign from Rush County Chamber of Commerce. Do we have a representative here or?
dissolution of the Chamber of Commerce received an email saying, does the city want the marquee sign that's located out on Front Street? I've already given the information and the note to Jennifer Aguirre, which is in the Main Street, she's the Main Street coordinator. And I said, "Yeah, sure, we wouldn't mind. I'm sure we can use it for put information on there pertaining to the city of Coumcil, but we obviously have to get permission from the council in order to accept it." I would believe that there may be a legal standpoint to this also that and their lawyer's still here around. I can contact him. But we may have to make he may have to make some kind of contract or something like that, because a donation to the city really shouldn't be happening. There's got to be some kind of dollar amount associated to it. So we make a contract and we say, "Okay, we'll pay you $10 for it," and then we take the sign. But I'm really here asking, is that something that this council wants to pursue, and do you want to go ahead and take it down?
Information can we put on that type of sign? Is it, is it basically anything as far as like advertising stuff?
We could probably even get it out if we wanted to, I would think. Anything pertaining to Main Street, anything pertaining, anything. Congratulations to the high school, or we could rent it to the high school, or you can let it into it, or.
Is that something that, say we use it for letting the high school to do stuff? Could we charge a small fee for something like that to?
Because we don't want to get into the issues that we want to track every single thing. Yeah. City.
Like to see a bigger one right there. a bigger sign right there.
on 35
Yep.
and 468.
Yep.
And so we'll bring that one back. We'll bring that one
You
back.
could use hotel occupancy taxes maybe for that advertising.
Right. All right. So here's here's a question to you. Do you want to have a motion to accept the donation of the marquee sign for Brush Country Chamber of Commerce? And good, I have a second? Okay, all in favor of accepting the marquee sign from Brush Country Chamber of Commerce, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. This is number 12. This is discuss items, drainage infrastructure in the area affected by flooding throughout the city and equipment needed to assist city personnel. I believe we have some comments on here. Do I have Rosalinda Martinez and or Megan Martinez, come on up. And then I also have Rosario Perez. I'll give you a chance.
Hi. Yes, we wanted to address the residents on I live at 503 Southwest Goodwin, and all of that part from where dams used to be further south, it floods every time it rains. There's no drainage that goes out because it's a dead end street. So it kind of just turns into a big old lake. And there was a drainage system there at one point. I don't know when it was blocked, but somebody blocked it because we had somebody come in from the city tell us, because we asked them to flush it. And when they tried to flush it, they said there's no place for it to go. So I know on Southwest Lane, they had drainage put in. And I think on the other street, I don't know if it's, I don't know, the one before us, they had drainage set up. But yeah. And so on our street, there's no drainage. And it's not just my home, it's my mother-in-law's, it's everybody on that side. And I know that people across the street from us have had pumps come in to kind of pump the water out from their yard, but it's been
Plus, Mother Nature treated us very well that day. We got 4 inches of rain within an hour and a half. But
Well,
let's take the citizens' comments and we'll come back to discussion. Do I have any other citizens comment on?
I want to read it a little bit. Hi, my name is Rosalinda Martinez. First of all, I would like to thank God for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all. And for the issue on 411 Southwest Goodwin, due to the lack of the street from the city. I don't know who did. I come to plead to fix our street because I am tired and every time it rains, water goes in my house. I already put bricks, not very tall, but bricks. And it still comes in because of that problem with the sewer or whatever. I've been having trouble with the sewer too, but it's not that. It's whatever. Okay, it says, tired of every time it rains hard, water goes in my house. I already put bricks, still like that, it comes in. I don't know what to do anymore because I don't have the money to fix it. And I can't be renting everywhere because I have only one check. Okay. I have to stretch it out. I don't think it's fair because I pay taxes too. Not a lot, but I do. Every dollar counts. But in Lane Street and Buckwheels, all across us, they do fix it. Okay. They did fix it because I live there. And they didn't fix ours because of lack of funds. I don't know who's the charge of the funds, whatever. But I think it's only fair for the city of Cotulla plan ahead instead of just suggesting, we're going to do this street and this street, that. No, you're going to do everything, you do it all. You help everybody. We need to help each other. Okay. So I think it's only fair for the city of Cotulla plan ahead instead of just suggesting what to fix first. We all pay taxes. I understand Cotulla is in a hole. He said it's in a hole. Okay. We are. I understand Cotulla is in a hole, but still managed to fix old buildings. Okay. I understand Cotula is in a hole, but still managed to fix old buildings and renew them. So why is it hard to fix one street? Well, I don't know who else has complaints, but I do. One street. So I'm asking and pleading and need answers before another storm comes on and goes in my house. Sincerely, Rosalina Martinez. So I hope you take it into consideration and help me out. Thank you.
Thank you, son. We also have Ms. Rosario Perez.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I live at 1102 LaSalle Street. And I've lived there for 23 years already, and I've had the same problem with the drainage and um, for a long time on LaSalle Street where I lived. Grass was growing over the street. Nobody knew it was a street. They thought it was an alley until, I mean, I do have to thank the county. I don't know if that was part of the city or not, but in the city trying to help other neighbors by elevating their property, all the water comes in through the front of my street. And I mean, every time it rains, this last time, it's like everybody's trash was on my street. There was even a TV that was covering part of the street. And it hasn't been done lately, but it affects me as well, even when they try to test the fire hydrants, because all the water comes into my yard. And, you know, the maintaining of the cleanliness of the area. I mean, I can sit outside and the front of my area, the grass is very tall. I constantly have to come and put a work order. Can you please clean it? So around me, it's like people don't take that into consideration. But that time, I would like the council to consider, you know, putting some better drainage because the little that the county did do, it's not enough. I mean, it just rains. When it rains, everything comes into the yard, and it's two houses. It's mine and the next door neighbor. But I mean, I really work hard, and I mean, I don't want to move from my area because I invested already in that area. So I would really like the council to consider working on this drainage and the infrastructures of that location. Thank you.
Before we get in discussion, we have one more speaker. Go ahead, sir. If you please. Can you add him too?
I lived in my backyard has been Goodwin for 50 years and it's always flooded. You know, in the past 10 years, my dad would run two pumps and pump the water out into the sewer every time it rained. He would go turn them on and everything. Unfortunately, I apologize. I couldn't get there to pump. That's why it flooded. You know, so I take it personal because my dad's gone and he couldn't help his people. But it's always been there. Uh, Ms. Nunez can testify on right there on Southwest Lane. We grew up there and the water would rise until we finally got it fixed. You know, so it's a huge project. It is nothing cheap on getting this drainage out. But there is something that needs to be done, you know, especially for the neighbors back there and everything. And whatever we can do, I'm sure my commissioner's court would be willing to jump in uh, to make sure these residents are not flooded out. Thank you.
Question.
To that, you got a question for the judge or we? Okay.
Would that consider like in her area too, if we could get some kind of help, especially where we have
Definitely.
drainage.
I'm sure my commissioner will jump straight in and, you know, I think he tried to remedy that situation, but I don't think it was enough. I mean, but, commissioner can testify that, you know, when it comes to our citizens, when it comes to our pueblito, we're always 100%, you know, united to helping y'all out.
Back in 2016, when I took office, my goal was let's help our community, let's help them. So I opened up an interlocal agreement with the city. It hadn't been done like in 35 years before I took office. We opened it up. First, Street, Ms. Martinez Street was the very first one I laid Comex on it. But we couldn't do too much because I don't know how deep the lines, the water lines, gas lines are there. And I couldn't put too much of a layer on it because we already know her play, his plays are, they're low, they're super low. So if we go any higher, we're just gonna keep pushing water into their territory. So if y'all can help me, I'm willing to help with the permission of the Commissioners Court, which we already have the interlocal agreement for 10 years. If y'all could help me identify how deep the lines are there, maybe we could just dig that road a little deeper and lower the street, which we still can't stop the raining water that falls on the property, but we could contain a little bit of it, keep it on the street. Yes. 2015, when I was campaigning, y'all, the city did have a hot oil truck here to unplug the lines, but they couldn't identify where the lines were. And it's been 9 years that I took office, and I haven't seen them back since then. That'd be another solution if we could unplug those lines. We don't know how plugged they are.
There was an 8-inch or 6-inch pipe
Yes.
that was put in 1940
Yes.
from that area all the way to the river.
Yes.
And that pipe back in the days, it was made out of clay, ceramic.
Yes.
So within time, it started caving in, and that's where the issues are. And that's where Ms. Martinez's house is.
Yes. But I mean, we love to help as much as we can with y'all's permission and y'all's support. We'll
We get more into discuss.
Adjacent to that property across the next street, we have that big retaining pond. I mean, it would be a lot more feasible to run across or underneath and go that way.
the elevation is not very low, and you can tell right now when it rains, the sheriff's house still goes underwater. His house through the front property still goes underwater. Mr. Rodriguez's house in the front still goes underwater because our territories are just underground.
Thank you.
Like,
And there was underneath the elevation that's it's at now, it drain perfectly into that retaining.
it depends how on the survey. It
How
depends
the
how
slope.
how much of a slope you have.
Yeah, all that would have to be engineering, the engineering side, right?
And this was even discussed with a previous city administrator on allowing my dad, he was gonna pay for a drain right there at his gates as long as they get connected to the sewer to alleviate all that water, especially when it comes quick. Because it did come up high and it came up really quick, and it just never happened. You know, they were in the talks, and this is way before y'all. So I'd like, if anything, we could do something about it. And then go ahead and running the drain. Because I believe the flow is towards the river on the way it runs. So it'd be the easiest thing. Yes.
When they did the new project though, they redirected to the retention pond. But I noticed, because I live right there also, and I noticed when we get a very heavy rain, like you said where the sheriff lives, the park fills up with water, and the retention pond stays dry.
So
There's a lot of work.
discussion, council, Mr. Wright, why don't you address them?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We kind of got off topic to what I was gonna address here a little bit, but not associated to the city, but associated to the city. I'm elected 6-year term to Noise River Authority Flood Planning Group. What my function is to vote on the state flood plan for the 29 county region in South Texas. What happens, and it's very relevant, I'm glad to hear that there are concerns, and I would like to hear more concerns, because what happens is that we develop the flood plan for the state, we identify projects, and we put it into the flood plan. When I get a project into the flood plan, that allows that project to be opened up to grant funds state level, which gives us free money to fix these things. I will tell you that I have not touched your street, Goodwin, because I was not aware of how bad it really was. Coming to council here in the next month or two, I am going to have a project for Texas Avenue. The total line of Texas Avenue, and these things take time. But what's going to happen is they're going to do a study. They're going to see exactly how bad it is. The engineers with Nueces River Authority, I did stress to them that there is property damage in that area. The water goes into people's houses in that area. It floods their lawns. the trench of the road, and I think the roads had some improvements, but when it was Taliche, you'd have a 3-foot trench running all the way down Texas Avenue because of the flood level. So all these things I have expressed to them, and we are gonna try to get these projects into the flood plan. But I do need to know if there's more projects, because what has identified to date is gonna be at the 5-way stop, the low water crossing, Texas Avenue, and I have also brought up Medina Street and Front Street area. Because that area too has had excessive flooding when we get a lot of rain. But beyond that, I don't know much more. When you get,
Yeah, so you got children. David, I think what we need to start, and I didn't know about Goodwin also when I attended Nueces Basin meeting when we have identified all those streets. But we did identify a lot. But I think with the first thing that needs to, before it starts, so we can get all the information. Yeah, before we get all that information, I think we need to post on our city website and Facebook and everything media, including the paper, so we have actually identified these locations. Because I get calls as well, as sure the judge does, like on I think Leona or Tilden Street, down there by the Ramirez's. I think that's what you were talking about. On that one, either the consumption tank or whatever, when there's so much water there, it smells like sewage. So those are a lot of issues that we need to identify.
the other thing is I'm trying to work on getting an S&P or citywide subsidy. So we are working on that. Nueces, still on topic. Nueces River, there is a project between city and county for that one. I believe it is $1.5 million grant that is coming from Texas Water Development Board from the Nueces River Authority. And it's gonna be a city and county study to find the hazards along the Nueces River and how we can fix those. Once we identify those hazards along the Nueces, then we can go ahead and we can put those hazards in the state flood plan and get grant funds for it, all the way up to restructuring dams along the Nueces River. So it could mean flood sirens, it could mean a lot of different things. It just, once they identify, then we're gonna know what grant monies are available. We talked about Mustang Creek. We talked about different solutions for there too. 100% grants, using nature-based solutions and things like that. We are very active in this. It's just, unfortunately, it costs a ton of money and it takes forever.
So here's coming back to the actual discussion. I have a couple of questions. I went there the morning of right after the flooding, and when I went there, I saw a lot of standing water. I didn't see the drain, and then when I went later, we saw the drain because finally the water had resided some. So I also saw, I believe it was Dilly on Gulf Street on our drainage, right? So, huh? Okay, that was sewer. Okay, but was that because of the amount of water we had, or was it all just because of the sewer? Yeah. Okay. So my question to you on that one would be, at the end of Goodwin there, if I remember correctly, when I drove in, there looks like an empty lot. Right at the end of the road. Is that belong to city?
Don't think it does.
Okay. So have you identified whether that drainage had been addressed at all?
Well, from what I know, in the many years I've been here, the drain has had a problem. It comes out on Boutwell and it runs along the tracks, just down to the river, just free flowing. Don't know 100%, but I do know when the county did do the project, they redirected it to the park. And I think that that may not be working anymore at all.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell y'all that okay, that is good. We needed all this rain. We needed all this rain to identify all of our drainages. I also saw and heard the people on social media as well. I do not comment on social media. I will not give any wrong information. I will not tell the people to abandon their houses or so on. The thing is that I was seeing everything and I was hearing the voice of people, but this is what we actually needed to identify our drainages, and so we can move from this forward.
So this is more of a discussion and where there's nothing to decide today other than we want to be able to move forward and reassure our community that the city is taking the actions necessary to address these situations. Did we have another speaker? Did I see a hand? Can you write him down, please, for number 12?
For number 12 here, I'm gonna speak on behalf of Ms. Martinez, Ms. Alinda. Y'all are, if y'all can't do this within 2 years, why can't she get into number 7, get a house? You know what I'm saying? If she can, if that flooding area doesn't get fixed in 2 years time sake, why can't the city allow her to buy one of the houses that they're gonna build over here?
Not impossible, and I'm not responding to you in general. Absolutely. And once that if that program comes to fruition and she would want to be part of that resident, that's absolutely possible. So I'm not necessarily responding, but it's all encompassing. We're all trying to make more for our community and have our citizens be able to get some of this.
If nobody else gives her a little bit of advice, maybe she can receive it if she wants. If she doesn't want to take it, that's up to her. But it's just, I thought about it just when, y'all were talking about it. If this flooding thing, if she already built a fence around her house and she can't control the water, and if in 2 years' time the project ain't done, and this project gets done, allow the city buy her property, and then pay the difference, a little bit at a time.
I'm gonna respond a little bit just so there is some understanding. Still staying on topic, okay? Drainage. There's only certain monies you can use for certain things. All right. We talked about hot tax. There's only certain monies that we can use for some things. The park getting fixed. Why are we fixing a park when I have drainage issues? Because that money comes from a different project. There's certain things, there's certain laws that only allow us to utilize these fundings for certain things. So why did we put a statue at the plaza, but yet my house is drained? Because I can only use certain monies for certain things. And we ask us, please, because we want to be able to all make the right choices for you, our community. Okay. So that is what your council is here for. And I guarantee you that every single one of these persons that night was going, where's our problems at? So we all want to address those things. Okay. We do.
A little time real quick. Before I was even born, back in 1900s, the founding fathers of Cotulla, Texas, Mr. Cotulas, they founded Cotulla in a bowl. If you come into Cotulla, you see that we're diving into like a cave, and they did the best they could. Our parents or great grandparents put a house close to a river, close to a drainage or uh, whatever it was, and sometimes they didn't know better that we were in a flood zone. I have a property that I have a trailer next to the mayor. It's a flood zone, but I take it as it is, and we didn't have any other properties that we could put houses. But as we're going, we can put the blame on the past city council or the past, mayors and all that. But it's not about that. It's just that we have to work with each other, and we're gonna do the best we can. And as much as it hurts me, it hurts you, it hurts me. I live here. I wake up in Cotulla. I see all of y'all somewhere in the store and across the street, and I have the problem too. So I gotta live with it, and that's why I raised my hand to serve the community. you know, being a city councilman, is to understand your concerns and how much we can afford. And yes, we can do a lot of things, but remember, all the communities, all the cities are different than any other cities. You know, we have a workforce of 30%, 37%, and the other 63% are in the poverty. We're almost in poverty. When the income average is 37 to 40,000, 45,000. So you can only do so much. And the other problem is that if we would have to do a lot of things, we would have to raise property tax. But we barely pay what we have. Imagine another, you know, we have a tax at 0.70. Imagine it will go like 0.80 like the school. I mean, there's people that couldn't afford it. But give us time and with the grace of God, we can help, you know, each other. But just be patient. Yes, sir.
So ma'am. No, no. We haven't identified. So this is what the discussion is about. The discussion today was to hear from you. The next item of order is comes to him. Now we're going to ask him the hard questions. Hey, what do we do? How can we do it? And where is the funding coming from? We've got a budget coming up. We can put a line item in there and see where we can scrounge to get. You already see our personnel out there. They're constantly just cutting grass, constantly, right? We're missing capital for whatever reason. The guys need equipment. We want to do structurally more for you, but here we are with that funding. I'm hoping that we did raise the tax a little bit, that our tax comes a little bit more. Okay, so all of these questions, I can reassure you one thing. I bet that the next street, if ever we get a grant for it, is going to have a lot of drainage. Our issue in Cotulla has always been drainage, right? But I guarantee you that some of us are gonna start looking at when we start developing new roads and things like that, that drainage is gonna be the number one key. And I remember having this discussion with Mr. Wright off of my street. I said, yeah, but you're tilting it to my side and it's gonna be in my yard. I have the lake. I show the lake. But that's where we're at.
I'm gonna tell you honestly, I just built a house, what, 3 years ago, brand new house on Houston Street. When we got these 4 inches of rain, my whole backyard is flooded until the back. But there's a creek that runs to the side. So I'm part of the, you know, the problem too.
So we're going to move on with this meeting. I want you to know that we hear you. We hear you. Every single one of these councilmen hears you. And we will be looking for future drainage, solutions, resolutions, and mediation. And so that's what we're going to be working towards. Okay, sir. Okay, you're done. Go ahead. They're gonna have a fundraiser. Okay, all right. For Ms. Martinez.
City Councilman Health Development Martinez.
And if anything else that you need me to let me know. Okay. All right, we're moving on to number 13, right? There was this, number 12 was just a discussion item. Number 13 is new water meters installed along the project. This is more informational too. I think, Mr. Wright can answer these in a snip and we'll be moving on.
Yeah. The answer is 250. And we have a long way to go.
The answer is 250. 250 installed?
Yeah, we have a long way to go.
And so how big project, tell us a little bit about that project, would you?
Yeah, so in 2015, the city was.
Can't hear.
Oh, right.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good day.
In 2015, the Texas Water Development Board, they I'm really hard with the mic.
Sound good.
Okay.
We got.
The city was awarded a grant. I believe it was $15 million at the time, and the city built 2 new water wells and the water tower that you see over by the street yard with that grant. The money's part of the grant money was also a radio read project for the city. Put radio read meters in throughout citywide. You know, of course, that's saving man hours and it's making the meters more accurate and things like that. It was worked out to be a forced count, is how we originally wanted it to happen. Water Development Board agreed to purchase all the meters, meter boxes, everything required to change them, but we would use city staff to do it. What about probably seven months ago, we started receiving meters and we started installing. Availability of staff, the idea was to have street department, water department, everybody get out there and do it. For me, changing a meter is pretty easy because I've done it for so long, but I did run into where people were having a lot of trouble and they were creating a lot of water leaks doing it. So I had to bring it back to the water department. And at this point, we have one gentleman replacing meters. I don't want to get too much into personnel matters without an open session, but there is one person doing it.
What, 250? And how many more do we got, Joe?
1,700.
And you have 1,700 meters already? Okay. All right.
We do. Yes, we have commercial.
Do we-
residential.
I know that a while back we did, Miss Juanita had made a proposal to, make an agreement with the workforce committee, to get hired hands, basically for the day type deal. Is that something we can still utilize to help with,
To the city this year. Last year, I believe it was a program that the Middle Rio Grande paid for. And they came and did general work for the city, like students or, you know, just so they could get some work experience.
Training for kids. Done everything. So,
Meters without knowing what you're doing.
it's a controlled environment because they're actually students, that program. There's
but with the workforce program, can we ask them if they have qualified people that might be able to do that outside the scope of what's set up?
from that, other than, I know that for a little while we were bringing personnel onboarding them through, but the Texas workforce wasn't allowing the city to do the interview, the backgrounds, everything else, and then we just took their employees, and it doesn't work like that. It makes it a little tougher. Mel, did you want to say something on that topic? No, okay. So that is an executive item that we're going to be talking about is personnel. So we can touch on more information for there. Any other questions for Mr. Wright on the water meters? Yeah. We're good?
It's gonna help us with labor. Right now, we have manual reading. You have 4 guys out there manual reading for a week and a half. Then it hurts the operation.
You're talking about, is that the ones that the digital, they just drive by and kind of shoot the gun at it? Yeah.
Okay, here we go on to number 14. This is discuss and consider an act on arranging city facility tour for council members. I think that I don't even think that's a discussion. I think that right now I know David's a little strapped for time, but I think those arrangements can easily be made with you, David, right? To be able to see the facilities and things like that, especially for the new council member. Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. I will definitely do it. We will make time to do it.
So I don't think there's really any discussion other than unless there is any questions on that. And that's not an approval. I think that's something that can be facilitated very easily. Am I right? Any other comments? good. I look forward to. I know he and I took a drive when I first came in, and it was enlightening. So, absolutely have it done. Now we move on to closed session. This is Texas Government Code as anointed on section 551.0711 parentheses 2, consultation with attorney, and 551.074 personnel matters, along with 551.076 security devices to discuss the following items. The items in discussion in executive session will be personnel matters, a municipal judge, excuse me, I'm not done yet. Municipal judge, security devices. Those are the topics that will be in executive session. I am going to give us a break, Judge, and we'll give you some time in executive session to speak as you requested. The time currently is 8:23. 9:43, we're back in open session. Nothing was, no action was taken in closed session. Council just convened and considered and again, no action was taken in closed session on item A, B, or C. At this time, do I have any motions on any of the A, B, or C, any topic?
Two-year term.
2-year term. The motion was to appoint a new municipal judge. And I had a first by Ms. Yanez, and I had a second. So now,
Item, if you wanna authorize pay,
we can, if you have a suggestion for the pay or want to stay with what we have, it's on you. You'll have to throw out that number if you want to come back later with the pay. So the motion is, Annette Peña, do you want to come back with another pay, or do you want to proceed forward with what? The pay that we're paying now for municipal judge is currently $700 a month. Or do you want to move your recommendation? Okay. So you're saying you're making a motion for 1,000 for Annette Peña. Do I still have a second?
so she amended the post. It's to appoint Annette Peña as municipal court judge with a salary of $700 per month.
$1,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1,000.
No, $1,000. Do I still have a second? Do I still have a second? With the same conditions? All right. All in favor of accepting the nomination for appointing Annette Peña at a salary of $1,000 per month, say aye. And all opposed, nay. On Mr. Ayala. Motion passes, motion carries. Annette Peña will be the new municipal judge.
Meeting, I'll come back with a document, says something.
Absolutely. All right. Now, the hardest question of all. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? All right. 9:46. Meeting is adjourned.